Ngayon naman ay i-discuss natin yung huling operation on vectors, which is the cross product. So ito yung definition natin ng cross product. If U is the vector u1, u2, u3, and v is the vector v1, v2, v3, so they are vectors in 3 space or in R3, then the cross product, which we write this way, basa natin dito ay u cross v, is defined as follows. So u cross v is equal to this expression. Okay. So ano ibig sabihin nitong 2x2 array natin na may dalawang vertical lines sa magkabila? This is actually a 2x2 determinant. So in general, kung meron tayong 2x2 array na ang elements ay A, B, C, D, ito ay difference, equal siya sa difference ng cross product nila. So AD and minus BC. So dito meron tayong U2 times V3, which is this one, minus U3 times V2. Okay, yan yung ith component, yung I component rather, ng cross product. And then minus ito naman U3, U1 V3, ito yon, times minus U3 times V1, ito naman yon, and then times J, plus U1 V2, ito yon, minus U2 V1, ito naman yon, and then times K. Now, medyo mahaba itong expression natin. I'm going to introduce a mnemonic for expanding the cross product. So I'm going to write a 3x3 array. This is the first row. I will write I, J, and K. On the second row, I will write the components of U. Yun na U1, U2, U3, and then third row, I will write the components of V. V1, V2, V3. How do we expand this array? So this is now equal to U cross V. So let's take, for example, I. So if you notice, kung tatanggalin nyo sa array na to yung row and column containing I, ito yung matitira. And do you notice what this is? Itong 2x2 array na to, it's exactly this. U2 times V3 minus U3 times V2. U2 times V3 minus U3 times V2, and then i-multiply natin siya sa I. Now, let's do the same thing for J. So, ano yung... Okay, apparently, hindi ko pwedeng burahin itong mga dinawin kong circle and square. Anyway, gamit na lang ako ng ibang kulay. Gamit ako ng blue. So, for J, don't forget na negative yung nasa harap natin. So, minus. Ngayon, ano yung matitira kapag tinanggal natin yung row and column containing J? Ito. And notice, yung 2x2 array na nasa definition natin. U1 times V3 minus U3 times V1. And then times J. And then finally, for the last term, K. Ano yung matitira dito sa 3x3 array kapag tinanggal natin yung row and column containing K? Ito yon. And ano yung nasa laman itong array na natira? Ito. U1, U2, V1, V2, which is exactly this. Oh, and then ano yung difference ng cross product nila? U1, V2 minus U2, V1. And then times K. Okay. So I highly recommend na gamitin nyo itong mnemonic na to. Okay. Let me write that here. So this is equal to the determinant of this 3x3 array where the first row contains IJK, the second row contains U1, U2, U3, and then yung third row, we have V1, V2, V3. Okay, I highly recommend that you familiarize yourself with this array instead of this very long expression. Okay, so let's have an example. Let u be the vector 1, 2, negative 2, and v be the vector 3, 0, negative 1. So, compute natin yung u cross v tsaka v cross u. So, u cross v muna. Okay. First row, sulat natin yung ijk. Second row, yung components ng u, 1, 2, and negative 2. Third row, yung components ng v, 3, 0, 1. Okay. So, let's start with I. Pag tinanggal natin yung row and column containing I, ito yung matitira. Maybe let me try to highlight that. Gamit tayo ng highlighter. So, ito yung matitira. And yung difference ng cross product nila ay 2 times 1. So, that's 2 minus negative 2 times 0. So, minus 0. And then times I. Next naman for J. Oops. Sulat na natin yung minus sa harap ng J. So, minus. Okay. So, take note. Plus, itong first term natin, plus yung nasa harap. Itong third term natin, plus din yung nasa harap. Yung negative ang nasa harap ay yung term lang containing J. Yan. So, minus. Ngayon, kung tatanggalin natin yung row and column containing J, ito yung matitira. Itong 1, 3, and 2, 1. And ano yung difference ng cross product nila? 1 times 1, that's 1. Minus negative 2 times 3. So, that's negative of negative 6. So, plus 6. Ayan. Times J. And then, finally, yung sa K naman. Kung aalisin natin yung row and column containing K, ang matitira ay, gamit tayo ng ibang kulay, itong pink. Ito naman ang matitira. Oops. Hindi magandang effect. I-box ko na lang. So, difference ng cross product, 1 times 0 minus 2 times 3. So, that's 1 times 0, which is 0, minus 2 times 3, which is 6. And then times K. So, 2 minus 0 is of course 2. So, 2i lang yan. So, 1 plus 6 is 7. So, negative 7j. And then 0 minus 6 is negative 6. Negative 6k. So, on your own, try to use the same thing. The same method for computing the cross product of v and u. And you will immediately notice na ito yung, unlike sa dot product, itong cross product natin, hindi siya commutative. But there is a relationship between u cross v and v cross u. So, kapag kinompute nyo ito using this determinant, so I, j, k, and then nasa second row mo ay yung components ng v, which is 3, 0, 1. Third row naman yung components ng u, which is 1, 2, negative 2. If you do the same thing, since nag-flip lang itong second and third rows natin, ang mangyayari, magne-negative lang ito. It will be like we multiplied negative 1 to u cross v. So, if you do this, if you actually expand this, please do that. You will get negative 2i plus 7j plus 6k. Yan. So, just a few remarks regarding the cross product. The cross product is defined only for vectors in R cubed. Wala tayong cross product for vectors in R squared. On the other hand, the dot product is defined for both vectors in R2 and R3. And pangalawa, the cross product produces a vector. So dito sa previous example, parehong vectors yung na-produce natin. So vector ang napoproduce ng cross product. Unlike sa dot product, which produces a scalar. So here are some properties. So let u, v, and w be vectors in R3 and k a scalar. Then, itong first property, napakita na natin kanina, hindi commutative ang u cross v, ang cross product. Pero, pag binaliktad natin yung dalawang vectors, may lalabas lang na negative 1. U cross v is equal to negative of v cross u. Dito naman sa pangalawang property, we have u cross quantity v plus w is equal to u cross v plus u cross w. Ibig sabihin lang nito, pwede nating i-distribute ang cross product sa sum ng dalawang vectors. Ito naman, number 3. So, ang difference ng number 2 at number 3, meron tayong sum, pero yung vector natin nasa kanan. Yung sum natin nasa kaliwa. But, same principle. Distributive pa rin. So, quantity u plus v cross w is equal to u cross w plus v cross w. So, ito naman, fourth property, k times u cross v is equal to quantity k u cross v or u cross quantity kv. So, when you're multiplying a scalar to a cross product, pwede nyong ilagay yung scalar dun sa either the first vector or the second vector. You should produce the same result. Fifth, u cross the zero vector is just equal to the zero vector cross u, and it's equal to the zero vector. Pwede nyo improve to using the definition. Or the 3x3 matrix na ginamit natin kanina. Okay. Ito ring number 6. You can try to prove this on your own. U cross u is equal to 0. So, ang mangyayari lang dito, since parehong u yung cross multiply natin, yung nasa first row, yung nasa second row at third row, parehas lang. And as a consequence of that, puro 0 yung magiging components ng resulting vector. Okay. Now, let's look at the cross product of unit vectors. Okay. So, we have I cross j is equal to k, j cross k is equal to I, and k cross I is equal to j. Okay. I encourage you to actually prove the first set of cross products. For example, maybe I'll just show you the first one, I cross j. So, let's evaluate I cross j. Show natin na equal siya sa k. Okay. Again, first row natin I, j, and k. Ano yung nasa second row? Components ng I. Pero I is equal to 1, 0, 0. And so, 1, 0, 0 yung ilalagay ko dito. Components of j is equal to 0, 1, 0. So, 0, 1, 0. Expand natin itong determinant na to. Okay. So, if we look at I, alisin natin yung row and column containing I. Meron tayong 0 minus 0. 0 minus 0 times 1. So, 0 lang yun. So, 0 I. Plus, ganun din for j. We have 1 times 0 minus 0 times 0. 0 lang din yun. So, 0 times j. And then, plus, actually, negative itong nasa harap. Pero since 0 lang din naman, parehas lang din yung makukuha natin. Then, for k, we have 1 times 1 minus 0 times 0. And that's 1. So, 1 times k. So, that's just equal to k. Now, if you want another mnemonic device for memorizing these products, because every now and then lalabas itong mga products na to, itong mga cross products na to. You can write ijk or draw ijk on a triangle, and then draw a counterclockwise arrow from I to j, j to k, and k to I. So, mangyayari, if you want to get the cross product of I and j, so I cross j, punta ka lang dun sa sunod, which is k. So, I cross j is equal to k. Ito yun. Now, j cross k is equal to I. And then k cross I is equal to j. Now, itong pangalawa naman, this follows from the property that we had. If you're taking the cross product, pag binaliktad nyo yung mga vectors, makakapag-produce lang ng negative 1 sa harap. So, since I cross j is equal to k, j cross I is equal to negative k. Similarly, since j cross k is equal to I, k cross j is equal to negative I. K cross I is equal to j, therefore I cross k is equal to negative j. Dito galing yan. Sa first property natin.